Hey guys, what is up? And we're here with a quick update video on a application that I've been developing for a future video. This is a teaser for a video, I guess. It's a very odd teaser. But hey, we're gonna take a look at something real cool that I've developed that I am going to show off in a new video, and the purpose of this will be much more clear in the next video, I promise. Just tonight, I have been developing this for ever, and I wanted to get this out there. That way you guys knew it. Hey, by the way, I'm still doing stuff. I promise. We're good. And I just wanted to show you kind of progress on what's been going on here. Seeing if we can get this new video out as quickly as possible. Probably next week, I would say. So just a quick introduction on this. Oh, and don't forget, guys, just real quick, there is a fantastic VPN service called Private Internet Access. And it is, again, there's a link to, in the description below for it. It's a great service. It is one of the fastest VPNs I've ever seen, and it is super reliable. It will not disconnect you in the middle of a session like some other VPN services. So I just want to give them a quick shout out before we hop into this quick Java application that I've been developing here. So let's give this a quick shot. We're going to open up this Java application called BruteTorce. It's a text-based / console application. But basically what it is it's a proxy. Now, you may be questioning, why would you need a proxy? Well, there's a few reasons you might want a proxy. This one specifically opens up a few different proxy services and runs them through Tor. Now, the question is, why would you want to do this? Well, there's a few answers. Obviously I have a Firefox over here going to YouTube, and we're forwarding requests through the proxy and thus through Tor and coming back through YouTube. So you can see here that the images are loading, everything's loading fine, and it's all basically being proxied through Tor at several different IP addresses. Now that specifically is the reason for this, several different IP addresses. So what do I mean when I say that this is the reason this exists? Well, I've looked online, and this is a few years ago that I originally created the first version of this, and it was actually in C# that I did it. This one's in Java. It's an updated version, and it works a lot better, honestly, because the first version kind of had some hacky workarounds that weren't great. This version, this Java version that I'm creating, doesn't have those hacky workarounds. Not because it's Java, but more so just because it's is using updated libraries and things that people have created. So I just chose Java because it's Java. That's what I know. Why not? So the reason that we're doing this is because we want to get several different IP addresses going at once for applications. Now, why would you want this? Well, one particular reason, right, is for something like a password attack. So say, for example, that you want to break a password on a WordPress site, and that WordPress site has IP-based blocking. So let's say after 5 attempts, it'll block you. It'll block your IP address from trying any more attempts until like 30 minutes or something like that. Well, it's super, super annoying if you're trying to brute force this WordPress site. Now, I haven't found anything that allows you to constantly rotate your IP address before, so I had to create it. And this is what I came up with, BruteTorce. It's a plan where I know it's terrible. Just don't judge me. So this basically allows you to proxy using something like proxy chains for Kali, or if your application happens to have a proxy service built into it, that's fantastic as well. Basically, it allows you to use this as a proxy, and it will shove those requests through, let's say, 15 or let's say 25 different connections. And every single time you use it, it'll, or every X amount of times that you use a connection, it'll recreate a new connection, thus getting a new IP. So for example, if you want to brute force a WordPress site, I'm going on WordPress here, but it can be anything. So let's say you want to brute force a WordPress site, and it'll block you after 5 attempts. So what you do is you set this to 5, this max use, and and set the connections to a reasonable number, like 10 or 15. 25 is a bit too high, but I wanted it to be faster on, let's say, just a web browser. You can use this as a web browser. I really wouldn't, though. That's not something I would do. So let's say you have that, all right, and you want to brute force it. So what you do is you take your brute forcing application and you run it through this proxy. Now, every single time a new password is requested, it'll create a whole new connection. It'll try a password, and it'll close the connection. So what this will do is it'll proxy that connection through Tor, thus giving you a brand new IP address. So once it gets that connection and closes it, it says, okay, was this password valid? If not, try a new one, then try a new one, right? It'll constantly be creating these new connections and constantly proxying through this. So every time a single connection is used 5 times, it'll close that connection and create a whole new one and thus get you a new IP address. So what you can do is you can have one application brute forcing a WordPress login with like 15 different threads at once. So it can try 15 passwords all at the same time. And all of those new password requests will be from different IP addresses. And so it'll do that once it does that 5 times, they'll start rotating and getting new IP addresses. So after 5 attempts, it'll block you normally. So you get a new IP address and try again another 15 times. This is basically a proof of concept to allow us to brute force logins that will IP limit or rate limit you after a while. You can use this for Google, Facebook, if for whatever reason they don't, block you before then just for using Tor, but you get the idea. So smaller sites especially won't have like a Tor blocking mechanisms of any sort. So great. You just basically get free IP addresses every time. Eventually you're going to run out of IP addresses through the Tor network, but there's a lot of them. So you probably won't run out for a while, and by the time you do run out, your time limit will probably be up for those IP addresses. The concept is there, but this is a proof of concept to show you that you can, log in through Facebook, through Tor, and still be okay. You can actually go through and, brute force a Facebook account or maybe, possibly, or a Google account, maybe, possibly, or a WordPress site or whatever you want. Anything that rate limits your IP address or blocks you after a certain number of attempts, you just get a new IP address. Simple as that. So this is a proof of concept, basically proving that IP-based methods of blocking are not effective. And we're going to use this in the next video to take a look at some interesting ways that we can actually use this that aren't necessarily password based, but are still kind of unique and interesting. And I wanted to give those a shot and kind of show those off as well. Because again, you can limit this to one thread and it'll basically be a Tor proxy for you if you want. Again, I really wouldn't recommend it, but hey, to each their own. And again, you can use this for a web browser proxy as well. Again, I wouldn't do it, but if you want to, you can. So we're going to look at some interesting applications for this that are password based. I want to kind of show you guys what it'll look like when you run a password cracker through this. But I also want to show you guys, and I think next week is going to be that video. I want to show you guys kind of what it looks like when you use other applications for this as well. What other things you can actually use with this application. So we're taking a look at some SSL stuff here as well. I'm just kind of fixing some random errors that occur, some random bugs that happen, but this is mostly done. There is actually a link in the description below as well. If you'd like to check out the source code of this, is actually publicly accessible. It's free and open source software on GitHub, and there is a link in the description below for that as well. So yeah, guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if I see more of that, of course, I will do more of this. And as always, I'll see you next time.